Yes, sir.
Good morning, students. Welcome back to your economics subject. As you all can see that we are with the second part book. Almost we call it as a part one, Indian economic development. In that we are with the third chapter, naming as a LPG. Okay, the unit which has been taken for us is chapter name is different and the unit is different. So unit is economic reforms since 1991 and chapter number 3 it is liberalization, privatization and globalization. It is almost LPG. So as in the previous sessions, as we have discussed about the introduction part as well as the background of uh, reforms, so almost till here we had stopped. So we shall proceed with the same concept in the background, what all things went and what was the position of our nation in the year 1990 and what new things came in the year 1991. The things, the reforms which new economic policy was framed in the year 1991, that the same we are going to know now. Okay, so as usually in the background, as we have seen, due to the insufficient management, the year 1980 to 1990, the our expenditures were more than our incomes, and our nation almost was dependent on the borrowings from the banks, from our national banks as well as from abroad. And the situation where the unemployment level was more, and even the poverty and the population explosion was more that time. So this made us here the position different way. So what was the position? Was the position was different here. We were lagging behind to bring up more income from our works. Okay, so here maximally, as the reforms took place in the last chapter, as we have discussed, we know that which reforms came into existence. It was related to the agriculture as well as industrial reforms took place, but it was insufficient. Wherever the development, the Indian government, wherever they tried to develop our nation, they used to fall behind. Why? Because wherever they started development, there the return from the income was very less as well as very slow. So due to that reason, we were unable to match up or balance the income and expenditure. So almost due to the exports were very low, but the imports from the other countries, the goods were very high. Even we were not able to manage the exports and imports over here. Then further, price slowly started increasing. Obviously the one thing was there, that our prices for needed goods were increasing. Due to that, what happened, our expenditures were more, then not sufficient foreign reserves, even where we used to pay for the imported goods in dollars, even that was not good. Then we approached our international banks, institutions, for the borrowings of the loans. That is what nearly World Bank and International Monetary Fund we approached for the fund. But due to certain reasons, they were not allowed to borrow the fund. They kept certain conditions to borrow the funds. Actual fund we require was 7 billion rupees. They received we approached International Bank of Reconstruction and Development, IBRD, popularly known as World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund for 7 billion as loan to manage the crisis. Means nearly think what is the position of the financial crisis which took place in the year 1980 to 1990. This 10 years period, we came into such a drawback of the financial crisis. Nearly we required 7 billion. It is not million, it is billion dollars in dollars. If you see $7 billion at present rate, if it is nearly 74 to 75 rupees per dollar. Now $7 billion, if you are taking, how many crores of rupees you will be looking here. Okay, so here, due to certain things, they agreed to provide this many loan. The IMF and the World Bank approached the agreement, took between the agreement from the government that they has to remove trade restrictions and open their economy for the trade. That is what the main important part, where our Indian government went into agreement with this World Bank and IMF. So here, the international agencies expected India to liberalize and open the economy for the removing the restrictions for the private sector as well. So almost, as I told you in the previous session, nearly 17 sectors or were holded by our Indian government. They made privatized. Most probably, they sold many of the things, sectors for the private investors as well, and they holded only two main sectors as a monopoly for that. If you see, the atomic energy and the railways are independent and more revenue providing sectors. Okay, so these two sectors were 100%ly held by the government, and remaining 15 sectors were privatized and liberalized. And even though with these things, they opened our economy for the foreign trades and removed trade restrictions between India and other country. These were the conditions as usually what the World Bank kept for the India to providing the loan. This was the agreement for that. Okay. Then, if you see further in the next slide, as we can see here, new economic policy was framed. What is this new economic policy? Here, India made an agreement on certain conditions. What were that conditions? Competitive, creating competitive environment. How it created competitive environment means the new, this one new here, the World Bank and the IMF went with the agreement just by saying that they have to make stabilization measures, they have to take stabilization and structural reforms. That we call here as the stabilization measures and the structural reforms policies. These two things came into existence in this policy. Then here, these two, this set policies can be classified into two groups, that is, was stabilization measures and structural reforms measures. These two things came into existence, as you can see in the green column, stabilization and the structural reforms. And in the second point, the creative competitive environment. Here, when our economy was opened for the trade and restrictions were removed, almost the foreign other countries from abroad came into India, and they tried and did sale trade between India and other countries, and they brought their goods and sold in our nation. This was the competitive environment which was created here. And these stabilization measures means are the short-term measures intended to correct some of the weaknesses that have developed the balance of payment and bring inflation under control. See what exactly this means. Stabilization means here we should develop the weaknesses of our sectors. We should balance the payment. How we can balance it? There should be a exports and imports should be equal. Whatever we import the goods and export the goods, it should match over there. Previously, how it was under the year 1980 to 90, our imports were more and exports were less, and we could not balance it. The balance of payments were not made, and we need to bring the control over the inflation. Inflation means what? In the previous slide, as you saw, there was an increase in, slowly started increasing the price. In what it means? Inflation means the sudden increase in the prices of the goods is known as inflation over here. Okay, for that purpose, what we need to require is we should control the inflation here. And in simple terms, we can call it as a, this means that there was a need to maintain sufficient foreign exchange reserves. Obviously, there is, we should have the sufficient foreign exchange reserves and keep the keep the rising prices under control. Whatever the prices were hiking, suddenly increase in the price, we call it as an inflation. That has to be controlled over here. This plays an important role over here. Okay, so as compared to the foreign exchange reserves, our rupee was very low as compared to the dollar. Okay, so for that reason, the new companies came into existence, the foreign companies came and started businesses in our nation. As usually our money value, as you can see in the image, the money value started falling here as comparing to the reserves in our currency. Value was very low as compared to the dollars. Then further, structural reform policies are long-term measures aimed to improving the efficiency of economy and increase the international competitiveness by removing the rigidities in various segments of our Indian economy. See, this is what long-term measures. This structural reform means it is a long-term. For what purpose? To increase the efficiency and increase the international competitiveness. See, almost when we made the privatization which took place, this is long term LPG policy. It is a long term and strategically for the development of our nation, which falls under three headings, three heads, which it is that is liberalization, privatization, and globalization. That is what we are going to further use. This is a long term policy. It will help us to develop our efficiency of our economy as well as competitiveness between the countries. See, whatever we used to trade, make the trade between our nation and other nation, it created a competitive environment. See, as our goods were exported very few and imported were more. So almost our nation started to develop from this structural reforms. So this was the things from the new economics policies. What has to be taken place. So let's see the next. See, the main part is liberalization. Here we are having the three headings. What the new economic policy was framed, it came with the liberalization, privatization, and globalization. So now we shall start with the one by one concept. So here, as you can see, in the liberalization, the word started competing and came into existence with the competitive environment. As at a point of the beginning, rules and laws were aimed at regulating the economic activities become hindrance in growth of development. See, liberalization was introduced to put an end to those restrictions and open up various sectors of our economy. Though a few sectors of economy, the liberalization measures were introduced in 1980s in areas of industrial licensing, export and import policy, technology upgradation, physical policy, and foreign investment reforms policies intended in 1991 were more comprehensive. See, in the year 1980, it started to liberalize here. See, what were the liberalization things means? Deregulation of industrial sector. See, almost many of the industries were starting and few of the were closed up. Why? Because due to the competitive environment, almost the expenses were more and uh, income were less. So deregulation of industrial sector came into existence. Then industrial licensing started. They provided the license for the industrial. Those who are interested to remove the startup with the industries, they started to give the licensing. Okay, then further, let us study some important areas. Let us see some of the important areas such as the industrial sector and the financial sector and tax reforms, foreign exchange market and trade market investment sectors which received greater attention in and in attention in and after 1991. So when we came into existence, here we started to privatize. Private sector were allowed a few sectors. Means what? Nearly, as I told you, nearly government were holding 17 sectors. Okay, in the 17 sectors, only two maximum revenue earning sectors were holded by the government, and remaining 15 sectors they started to privatize. As in the third point, you can see private sectors not allowed for few sectors, means private people were not allowed in few sectors, but remaining were privatized. Few of the nearly 15 sectors were privatized after this. Then some goods produced small scale industries. Some goods means our environment, the economy. Here they started to compete with the foreign economy as well. So control over the control of price fixation and distribution, even they came into existence with the price, controlling the price. There was a increasing in the price, started increasing that they started to control over here. Then industrial licensing was removed. Again, further, what things came into existence was after this industry liberalization, industry licensing, they were restricting the industries that they have removed. Then the goods like alcohol, cigarettes, chemical, explosion, drugs, these all things also were taken into notice. Here, let's see, we have to discuss this in the deregulation of industrial sectors. As see, the first point, what it means over here, deregulation of industrial sectors, we'll discuss in detail now. See, in this liberalization, most importantly, we are going to see the three we are going to discuss into three headings. Just like you are going to see first the deregulation of industrial sectors, then after that you are going to see the financial sectors, then taxation reforms and foreign exchange reforms. Then even with this, there are the continuation of trade and investment policies as well. Here, it is not most probably the three, but the 4 to 5 headings we are going to discuss in detail. So first, let's go with the detailed discussion of this deregulation of industrial sector. What exactly it means? So, in India, regulatory mechanisms were enforced in various ways. That is what industrial licensing under the under which every entrepreneur had to get permission from the government official to start a firm, close a firm, or decide amount of goods that could be produced. See, for each and everything, industrial licensing time, they need to take permission. Whichever the goods they used to produce, they need to take permission from the government to start a business and even to close the business and decide what goods has to be produced. Even for that, they started to take the permission. That is what industrial licensing. For each starting or closing or expanding the business, they start need to take the permission from the government. Then second, the private sector was not allowed in many industries. See, private sector where the liberalization privatization took place, but in every field it was not allowed. Certain things are there, just like few of the goods should be produced in a small quantity, some goods could be produced only in a small scale industries, and control of price fixation, there should be a price fixation as well, and distribute the selected industry products. See, these things, as you can see, in the private sector were allowed only few sectors to work and some goods to produce. See, in this fourth point, as you can see, some goods produced by small scale industries, small and few goods were allowed to produce over here, and there should be a control on price, just like there should be a fixation of price and even the distribution of goods to the selected industrial products, only selected. Just like further, the reforms policies introduced and after 1990 removed many of these restrictions, the industrial licensing was abolished. See, as you can see, this was the thing first. there were certain restriction, deregulation of industry. You can see these restrictions. Licensing, after the licensing, how you have to start the business, you have to take the permission. To closing the business you have to take, and even for the expansion you have to take the permission from the government. And the private sectors were not allowed fully to invest. They were allowed only few sectors. Then further, only some goods of the some goods should be produced in the small scale industries were told. Then after that there should be a fixed price and distribution. That is what it was told. Then further, after that, the reforms introduced after the year 1991, all the restrictions were removed. Industrial licensing was removed, means there were no any deregulation of industries. The license were provided for all. The licensing were abolished for almost all but products categories, means almost all the goods were can be produced, but this living this, just like the alcohol, cigarette, hazardous chemicals, then industrial explosives, electronic, aerospace, and drugs and pharmacy chemicals, these are the things were restricted, means this should cannot be produced. This licensing for these goods were not provided, but for remaining all the things were allowed. The only industries which are not reserved for the public sector and defense equipments, atomic energy, and railway transports, these were the things which were not allowed to the private peoples. That is what public sector. Public sectors like defense equipment, just like the animations were produced by the Indian government itself. Then atomic energy generation. See, as I told you, atomic energy and the railways were controlled and managed fully because the income from these two sectors are more as compared to the expenditure. So atomic energy and railway transportation was controlled and managed by the government. And even with the defense equipments means you cannot make or provide the privatization for this defense equipments. If you make it, everyone will try to purchase the guns, ammunitions, whatever are there, and it would be a different environment. For that purpose, many goods produced by the small scale industries have to be deserved, means they market allowed to decide the price, means whatever the goods were produced, the market, that is what the privatization liberalization made us to. The market is to decide now what price has to be paid for the same goods. Okay, in many industries the market has been allowed to determine the prices. See, when you come to the production of the goods, when you produce the goods, the almost you cannot decide the price of the goods. Why? Because in this competitive environment, in the competitive market, the customer itself will decide the price for your goods. It is nowhere say that you can decide the price. If you want to decide, it will not be a competitive environment, it will be uncompetitive environment or uncompetitive market. That is what the important points, competitive market and competitive market, that you are going to study in further sessions. Further sessions means in the UC second year you will be knowing that what exactly the competitive market and uncompetitive market means. Here almost the price for the goods are decided by the customers itself. That is the one important point you have to remember. Then after this, first point, as we saw, deregulation of the industrial sector, this was the point. Now next we are going to see is financial sector reforms. Now what all financial sector reforms we are going to see and discuss over here in detail, what exactly it means and what it does over here. See, financial sector includes financial institutions such as commercial banks, investments bank, and stock exchange operations, and the foreign exchange market. That, as you can see here, commercial banks, what we are looking forward in this financial sector reforms, you can see here commercial bank, investment bank, then the stock exchange operations, that is what stock exchange market you can call over here. The financial sector in India is regulated by the RBI, controlled and managed by RBI. This is what you can see. The financial sector, the RBI is the regulatory body who controls and manage the all the banks as well as the financial institutions. You may be aware that all the bank and the other financial institutions in India are regulated through the various norms, that is what regulations of the RBI. The RBI decides amount of money that the bank can keep with themselves. Means what, whatever the amount of money, as you each and every person removes the bank accounts for the savings as well as for the loans and fixed deposits, many of the things what the banking sector exactly provides you. So here, most probably, as you can see, the RBI says that you have to maintain certain amount as a reserves. Okay, this exactly what about the RBI and all, you can go with the detailed study in the next year. It is now just you need to know is the RBI is the monetary authority who controls and manage the or regulates the all other banks and the financial institutions, what we exactly call here. The RBI decide the amount of money that the bank can keep with themselves, the fixed interest rates and nature of lending for the various sectors. One of the major aim of the financial sector reform is to reduce the role of the RBI from RBI regulators, facilitators, financial sector. See, this RBI is just a monetary authority who regulates and control the banks and the financial institutions, where they decide how much reserves you have to keep with themselves, means how much amount of money they have to keep in the bank, what is they fixes the rate of interest for the personal loan, vehicle loan and home loan, whatever the loans for the businesses what you take from the loans from the banks, they will decide. And nature of lending for the various sectors, it is for the as our industrial sector, how much loans has to be given for the small scale, medium scale and the large scale industries, and what terms and conditions or the policies which are being framed by the RBI or for the controlling for these institutions. Okay, then further, one of the important things reforms to reduce the facilitators and the financial sector. This means the financial sector may allow to take decisions on many matters without consulting the RBI. See, this RBI have given certain freedom to the banking institutions to make the consultant to the very of the few of the matters. They can take their own decisions, but whatever the policies which are being framed by the RBI has to be followed by them. What amount of capital they have to keep as a reserve, what rate of interest they have to give or provide for on the loans as well as for the savings account as well as for the current account as well as for the fixed deposit, all the terms and conditions are given by the RBI itself. Okay, and few of the institutions, that is what a few of the things are being given to take decisions with the consultant with RBI. So RBI will be providing them. Then further, this the reform policies led to establish the private banks, Indian as well as foreign investment limited in banks were raised to around 50%. See, as you can see, further we came to the private banks. See, the government banks, as usually you can see, State Bank of India is a private bank, sorry, a government bank, and private sector banks and set up their branches. See, foreign banks also is there. Have you all seen the Cosmos Bank? Cosmos Bank is not our Indian one. It is a foreign bank it is. So we are not going to take into consideration as it is Indian. So they allowed nearly 50% of the banks are allowed from the private banks and as well as the foreign banks are been taken. So almost 50% will be with the RBI and the government banks and public bank, that is, and remaining 50% almost for the private as well as the foreign banks over here. Then these banks will fulfill certain conditions, have to be given freedom to set up a new branches without approval of the RBI and rationalize the existing branch network. See what they used to do, almost they used to take the self decisions to expand their branches. The private sector branches, they started to expand the branches in each and every area wherever as they feel comfortable. Then though the banks have been given permission to generate resources for India and abroad, certain management aspects have been retained with the RBI to safeguard the interest of the accounting accounts holding in the nation. See, RBI was to safeguard the interest of the account holders. See, wherever they keep their money, they need to safeguard it. See, wherever you are having a private bank, you can keep the money in the bank, but there are certain things to be known. What are the things to be known is they need to make control over that, means safeguard that money. So RBI will be safeguarding the money of the interested account holders which keep their money in the private banks over here. Then further, foreign institutional investors, FII, what we call here foreign institutional investors, such as merchant banks, mutual funds, and pension funds are allowed to invest in Indian financial market. That is what in the last point you can see. The foreign institutional investors, FII, what we call here, such as merchandise banks are there, mutual funds are there, and pension funds are allowed to invest in foreign invest Indian financial market as well. So this is what the financial sector reform. So what exactly after the new economic policies were framed, these things came into existence. So almost as you can see here, many of the sectors started developing. Why? Because due to this LPG, the liberalization and privatization and globalization, all the sectors started developing over here. So for today's class, this much part is enough. Further we shall be discussing about the tax reforms, then foreign exchange reforms, and trade and investment policies. The three main points which are remained we will be discussing, and then we will be moving for the privatization. Okay.